What's up, fam? I wouldn't actually say that. I'm breaking this up into 3 parts to talk about my experience with my narcissistic stepmother, starting at age 5 and to this day, still going, and I'm 43 now. So, yes, I'm a mom now. I have my own kids. I think that's propelled a lot of this exploration for me to better understand, yeah, what parents could have said or could have done had they been not narcissists can be really powerful. So I've walked through a lot of my own, education in psychology and my own therapy for now 30 years. And I've journaled a lot. I've done a lot of just self-exploration, trying to understand why I am the way I am, the things that I don't like about myself, and where I can just live my life and not feel so held back by self-doubt, self-criticism, judgment, fear of judgment, and just a real a lack of being able to hold on to momentum sometimes. Okay. Ooh, bleh, bleh. When I was 5 years old, living in Los Angeles, which is where I was born, my mom and dad divorced, and my dad went back to Philadelphia to visit his mother and decided to bring back a new wife, essentially, from Philadelphia. So me being 5 years old, I had traveled across the country with him. I didn't know any of this was going on, of course, but essentially new stepmom and her 13-year-old daughter move across the country to live with my dad and I. And I'm obviously with my mom part of the time too. It goes back quite a ways, back to the essentially late 50s when my dad and my stepmom were neighbors, I believe, in Philadelphia. And essentially they were kids together. Dad decided, hey, we knew each other way back when. You should come over and live with me in California and I'll take care of you. So stepmom moves over from Philadelphia, brings her daughter. My stepmother and my father have 2 biological children between them within 4 years. So now there are 4 of us, 4 children in the house. My younger siblings are 2 of my very favorite people in the whole world, and they are absolutely the best part of this situation that I now have my brother and sister who are fantastic human beings, and I love them dearly. That said, I had a very different experience with their mom than they did in a lot of ways. And I still feel like I get to talk about that. I'm not outing anybody. I'm not saying anybody should harass anybody. And I don't fault anyone for loving who they want to love. She's a heavy smoker, heavy smoker. I would say many packs a day. Who knows, maybe 2 packs a day, 3. Inside the house, just smoked all day long. And maybe some of you can relate because that was way back before they knew about of course they knew about the trouble with it, but they weren't yet really protecting the kids. So kids could be in the car with people smoking, in the house, whatever it may be. So she smoked a lot, and she was crass. She cussed a lot, and she was very loud and abrasive. And that's kind of like, I figured just sort of a Philly thing in some ways. But my dad was from Philly, and he was much more like jovial, like happy, kind of easygoing. He wasn't going to be super dramatic. And he was a great guy. My stepmom had been a young mother with her first husband and left him. She was not educated. She had never gone to college. She did have a high school degree, but she wasn't further educated, and I think that always affected her in some way. So she was still employable. She still worked, but she was a single mom, and I get that. That's super hard. So a guy, when my dad comes from California and he's like, hey, come on out, like, I got you. I don't, especially if they loved each other, that's really cool. I'm happy for them in that way. She gets a job at like a furniture store, and every day, because she doesn't drive, right? Nobody on the East Coast has driver's licenses apparently, or it's not as common. And so she moves out to California. She doesn't get a driver's license. So my dad drives her to work every day. So every day in the morning, He's taking her to work, taking me to school, going to work himself. It was a lot of driving. My dad did all the driving in the family. She worked at a furniture store, and on the way home after we pick her up, there was so much drama at this furniture store. And oh man, these people really had it coming. And that's all we would talk about the entire ride home. She would complain about all of her coworkers. In hindsight, it's so funny because, of course, like, yeah, it all checks out, right? Because we lived in the house that my dad had bought with my mom. My stepmom always saw it as my mom's house. And I don't think she ever got over that to this day, and has slowly punished the house ever since she moved in all that time ago. She hated everything about it, hated the carpets, hated the cabinets, hated the whole setup. She was always complaining about the house. And now I know why, right now as an adult. She was that person that was full of complaints about everything. Honestly, I bet my stepmom cooked for us less than 20 times that I remember ever. She didn't clean. The house was a total disaster. My mom had lived in that house for less than 2 years. It was not my mom's house. But that was something that she could sort of hold over my dad's head, I think, in hindsight, that he wasn't doing well enough, that he wasn't ever, meeting her expectations. And that carried on until the end of his life. In hindsight, I don't know about you guys, but like I look back and it all becomes very clear. She was the kind of person who would complain about my dad frequently to all of us kids, but it was always your father. Well, your father needs to do X, Y, Z. Well, if your father would blah, blah, blah. And I always thought that was fascinating, that she would like detach herself, like he's the man she married, but somehow it was like, oh no, he's yours. Like he's your responsibility in this very disappointing situation or whatever she was complaining about at the time. I thought that was fascinating that she would switch it around and make it someone else's problem, or someone else's fault, responsibility, whatever you want to call it, because she couldn't, anyway. She didn't respect him at all. And in hindsight, that does make me sad to look at, and maybe you guys have a parent who was an enabler parent type as well, just very passive, just trying to kind of stay under the radar themselves. And so it does make me sad to think that my dad really didn't fight back very much, because he learned probably really early that was a bad idea. And he would just redirect all of her anger to himself. But I do remember him standing up for me a few times. I appreciate that. Those memories do matter to me when I think back. So thanks, Dad. I remember times where she would throw things in the house, and she definitely was like the slamming the doors kind of person. There was a lot of slamming doors at different times, and nobody would go near, everybody was like totally terrified. So that was another sign that I look back on now, like, oh, of course, she was so dramatic. Everything was dramatic. It was always someone else's fault, of course. It's amazing how someone can have so many complaints, but none of it's ever their fault. It's never anything they can control, so they just get to complain endlessly about it. My dad was always a peacemaker, a people pleaser, and so when he couldn't have an impact with his own wife, I think he escaped into his work. He didn't really interfere with what she wanted to do at the house and with the kids, and we ate out constantly because she never cooked. So it was every night it was a different takeout that my dad would pick up, and that was kind of the extent of our interaction sometimes. He would drive us around and make sure we were fed. I don't remember her ever making me even a lunch. Maybe she did when I was really little, but she was not the nurturing type in that way. But she loved small children, so she could be very kind when the kids were small. And she would say that she had grown up, old school Italian, where people get hit with wooden spoons and children should be seen and not heard. So a lot of it was like, oh, this is like a cultural thing. Okay, that's just how she was raised, so that's what she thinks. Well, here's a fun story. This is a fun story. No, it's not a fun story. When I was 7 years old, I had a fever. I'm sure I had the flu or something. I was very sick. I'm at my dad's house. My stepmom is taking care of me, right? And as we know, narcissists don't like taking care of people. I have a high fever and I don't want to drink or eat anything. I'm pretty sure I'd been throwing up. You know that feeling, you're a kid, you feel like crap. You don't want to take anything in, right? That's why parents now get Pedialyte and these other things. But at the time, she was giving me water, and she was not going to accept no for an answer. I had to drink this water. And I was crying. I felt so sick. I was like delirious, basically. And I remember just saying, like, please, no, I can't drink this water. And so, as any healthy, rational-minded parent would do, she splashed all of the water all over my face and then screamed at me. Obviously, that made a mark. I was so young. It's one of my core memories now. And it was very much that message of, like, yeah, when you don't make me happy, you're going to fucking pay for it. To, like, forcefully, like, as though I was like a man who had, like, screwed her over. She was, like, dramatic about it too. It was very, yeah, that was just, she was just kind of crazy. There wasn't a name for it, but a lot of us experienced a lot of shit like this, so I'm going to talk about it. So my first younger sibling was born when I was 7 years old. I was beside myself. I was so thrilled to have a little sister, and I wanted to hold her so badly, and I would, like, change my baby doll next to her. I was just a kid. I just loved her so much, and I just wanted to, like, hold her and be with her, and I thought she was just amazing, and she still is. But I was not allowed to. I was too small. I get it. One morning, I wake up, I come downstairs, and my stepmom starts yelling at me that I moved my baby sister in the middle of the night without permission. And she was livid, told me I need to tell the truth, kept telling me over and over that I was lying to her. I mean, and I was so little at the time, like, sure, kids lie and stuff, but, like, to go in and, like, move a person, to go in as a 7-year-old into your parents' bedroom, take a baby out of their bed, move her to her crib, and then, like, leave it's just a very interesting, that's why I think, okay, she just maybe wasn't all, like, firing on all cylinders at that point. But she was just so sure that I had done this, and I was paying for it big time. There was no getting out of it, no matter what I said, no matter how much I cried. There was no chance that the truth was going to actually mean anything to her. My older sister comes downstairs and says, what's going on? No, I moved her. I moved the baby. So me, 7 years old, I'm in tears, and I am 100% sure that I got no apology. Maybe got like 2 seconds of, like, okay, you're all right, everything's fine. But there was no genuine apology or any acknowledgement for how much that situation probably messed with me. Because when you're 7 years old and you're telling the truth, it is so destructive, I think is the right word. I think it's really destructive when someone who should know you well doesn't trust you and doesn't believe you. Now, if you're lying, then yeah, you deserve it. But, like, when you're really being honest, and at that time, I was 7. I can't even remember what I would have lied about. I was so little. But that was the first time I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, my truth, me telling the truth still might not be enough. That's crazy. That's a crazy making feeling. She was just always going to be that person who would make jokes at other people's expense. She would make fun of everybody in the house all the time. She would make fun of my dad all the time. In hindsight, right, it's like a bully sitting around doing nothing, poking at everybody, seeing what happens, trying to piss somebody off, and then go, oh, what? I'm just being honest. It was very immature rhetoric, and that's what I grew up around. In that family, you don't share your vulnerabilities. You don't share your emotions. You don't feel safe sharing anything. If I say something about something I'm genuinely feeling, I would often get the, oh, the poor baby, or, some kind of very demeaning comment. Or the better part, when you're upset about something and your narcissistic parent blames you for something someone else did. That was a fun one. That's always a fun one. It must be your fault somehow. Ooh. Anyway, that's part 1. I'm going to make a part 2 that's really centered around my teenage years, when a lot of the drama happened, and a lot of the, like, really shocking things that I think, in hindsight, now I'm really definitely saying, oh, okay, she was out to get me. It wasn't like I was just an annoying kid. Like, she wanted to prove a point. I'm sure narcissists just do this. It's like, hey, I can't control this person, so I'm going to find another way to control them by controlling the narrative around them, by making things up if I have to get people on my side, to feel validated myself, because that's all she ever wanted was validation. I'm just sharing my experience and my education behind it. But if you have the opportunity to do so, please definitely look into therapy, because it has changed my life. Journaling and therapy. I don't want to say it gets better, but there is more to discuss for sure in part 2. Please subscribe, hit the like button, let me know what you think. If anybody has experiences that are similar to these, please drop a comment.